What up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Square Circle Podcast. And I'm here joined again by Dose Evil because he's awesome. And I really do enjoy having the MLW talks with him and even talks on Twitter. You guys should be following him. This is a very special episode where we are going to go over MLW Super Fight 6. So everyone, welcome Dose Evil. How have you been doing?
Good. Everyone should follow me on Twitter at Dose Evil. You can see all people calling me stupid, using bad syntax, and sometimes run on sentences. It's so much fun.
Man, like I always just hang around all the threads, whether you're in it or like MJ's in it or like other people are in it, and I'm like, yo, these people don't have anything else to come at you with. There's like no substance into like trying to be like, hey, you're wrong because of X, Y, or Z, or hey, I think it's a little bit different because X, Y, Z. They just call you a bunch of names.
Yeah, it's terrific. All sorts of things. I mean, so somebody questioned my qualifications to read an invoice. I mean, I can read dates, I can read numbers. I mean, I've bought things at stores. Somebody else chimed in. He's also a lawyer. I'm like, oh yeah, there's that. But like, you don't need to be a lawyer to know whether or not somebody rented a ring 6 months ago, or whether they rented a ring 36 hours before an event, or there's no record of renting or paying, period. I mean, of course, QT Marshall isn't going to show me. Of course, that's not the ring that they intended to use. I have never seen a promotion that comes into, like, normally a show comes into town, it leaves town, whether it's a TV or a pay-per-view, whatever. You talk about the gate, you talk about the crowds, you talk about a bad booking decision, a good booking decision, a title change, a title shouldn't have changed. The end, they go on to the next show. AEW always comes in. It's like that guy whose pockets are full of shit, and like stuff is always falling all out of his pockets as he's Rain Man talking to himself. And he's also the guy who stepped on toilet paper in the public restroom, and he's trailing toilet paper on the way to the show, and he's trailing a new thing of toilet paper on the way to out of the show, and more junk is falling out of his pockets. I mean, it's like Pigpen everywhere, and like everyone's saying, no, Pigpen smells good. What dust? What are you talking about? What is that dirt cloud you're talking about? I've never, it's like if everyone just said, yeah, they're doing things by the seat of their pants. They don't really pay attention to logistics. They just really want to employ a lot of people in wrestling and show people a good time, and and the fans really enjoy it. Oh, okay, I'll leave you alone. You love the show, great. I don't care. Anyway, what does AEW have to do with it? Almost nothing.
Really almost nothing, but I'm over here like very cheesily smiling because I was gonna go off on a rant on a different episode, maybe even a live stream, because that whole conversation yesterday got me frustrated. And it wasn't even because of like, just nitpicking at something. It was more for, I was looking at it for like safety wise, because the ring did look off. Like, I've been to many promotions and events where like I could tell the difference between like what's a really good ring that was put together versus like what we saw. But like I was just getting frustrated on the safety side of things, because I want wrestlers to be safe when they're in the ring. Like, I don't want something to happen where it's a freak accident and then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, we should have really like made the ring secure. So I'm over here just cheesing about it, because it's like, yeah, man. And obviously, yeah, AEW has nothing to do with MLW, but I can definitely tell the whole world again that MLW is one of the most professional places I have ever had the chance to work with them. And even just to see the ring crew that they that comes in and builds the ring and make sure that the ring is in really good standing.
I've just never seen so many excuses for things that are inexcusable. I mean, they had plenty of time to have a ring built for them. They could have shipped it on that super yacht. They could have borrowed one from New Japan, who, by the way, tours in Australia. And there's a 50-50 chance that the New Japan keeps a ring in Australia, so they don't have to ship one every time. Or the shipping from Japan to Australia costs a third or 30% of what it costs from the whatever. They had a million options. And like I saw somebody say that lots of people use that size ring. By the way, that person was wrong. They said it was a 16x18 ring. It turns out it was a 16x16 ring. And then someone else is saying, well, lots of these guys trained on the indies, so they're used to it. Well, that's fine, but they've worked for AEW for the last several years, so they're used to this size ring. I mean, if you've ever tried a new tennis racket, everything is different. It's a little bit different to you. I mean, you go to you play tennis, then you play pickleball, then you play racquetball. It's all different. You have to get used to it, and that's the safety thing. And it shouldn't have to be prefaced every time that you're not just mocking the company for being bad at logistics, which they are, but those things are about wrestler safety and about which means continuity of stories, which means a better product. So it's not like these are not all embedded into more benevolent thought trains. It's just a whole weird dynamic. I mean, they're like, well, you don't work in wrestling. You're right. You know what? I don't work for the New York Yankees either. But if I showed up at a Yankees game as their local equipment manager, and I put beanbags instead of bases, and I brought softball metal bats instead of baseball wooden bats, could they play the game? Yeah, but it isn't the same. And people would criticize me. It's like wrestling is a safe space where you can't criticize anything, and you must defend a company just based on what the letters in front of the promotion, and it's just but it's always this promotion. Like, no, what we're talking about on MLW Super Fight 6 as far as logistical things? Nothing. We're going to talk about nothing about logistical things because they got there, they set up a show, they sold their tickets, they presented the show. The end. I mean, they're talking about NWA. They've been going all over. What are we talking about their logistics? Nothing. Not a darn thing. I mean, occasionally you hear about weather issues where wrestlers have traveling issues. Well, that's the way of the world. That's something that they can't be controlled by most promotions. Can by AEW because they can afford to bring you in 2 or 3 days earlier. So. It's always the same promotion, and I want to say it's always the same defenders, and some of them are, but it's not. There's fewer and fewer of them.
Yeah, it's just that everything seems so loud because we're always either quote tweeting or retweeting the same voices and even some new voices, and I'm just like, you guys are not getting the bigger picture. The bigger picture should be about safety. Other than that, with MLW Super Fight 6, it was in Atlanta. And Atlanta, basically sold out show. And we open up with Eric Bischoff, who is the executive producer for MLW now. And I did not know that there was a Ted Turner Lifetime Achievement Award, and they gave it to Eric Bischoff. Did you know there was a Ted Turner Lifetime Achievement Award?
No, I did not. And if I didn't hear it being announced and know that Eric Bischoff was talking about it, there was him. Upon seeing it, I'm telling you, it looked like Vince McMahon to me.
Oh, the little bust of like the head.
Yeah, the obvious replica bust, because when Alex Kane was holding it, it's like he was holding styrofoam instead of bronze.
Yeah, I felt that too when I saw it, and then he threw it into the crowd. But yeah, Alex Kane came out with Mr. Thomas. They interrupt Eric Bischoff. And there was some threats being made. Eric wanted to use his black belt experience to fight Alex Kane, and we were like, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. But instead, I believe he created a match or put Alex Kane in the next Battle Riot.
No, so first of all, Faye Jackson was there, so who apparently is part of Boom-IE at times. She must be local to Atlanta. Well, I don't know. Maybe they have pre-card matches that go on before we see on YouTube, and maybe she's constant. Anyway, that's not important. But Kevin Knight, however, did not show up with them during this portion, though later on he did. I guess he was prepping for his match. All right, so the backstory is that Eric Bischoff fired Alex Kane when he had 1 day of full power. And, what I never understood is why the next day just, then Court Bauer or whoever the power figure or, Cesar Duran, whoever, just hire him back the next day. I mean, his power was 1 day. It wasn't forever. Instead, Alex Kane's, sneaking in and flying in and invading. So, yeah, Eric Bischoff was like, you want to fight right now? We'll fight right now. But, the Carney promoter's got to be stakes. And if you lay one finger on me, your night is over. You're not in the triple threat title match at the end of the night. So you can get your hands on me, and I'll kick your teeth down your throat because I'm a black belt, even though I'm 70. By the way, Eric Bischoff looks great. I mean,
yeah, he does.
There's some of these like weirdo RFK Junior, like 65-year-old, 70-year-old like muscleheads walking around, like, and Eric Bischoff is one of them. No one, Vince McMahon, I guess, is another. I mean, there's all these old dudes who are like, wiry and ropey, and you don't want to F with them. I'm not one of them. I look like a regular old dude. Anyway, so Alex Kane wants to throw down then, but Mr. Thomas, our mutual friend, tells him, trust me, trust me, trust me. You don't want, that's what he wants you to do. Now, I don't know if this trust me, trust me, trust me is going to come back to haunt him at some point when Boumaier splits or whatnot, but Alex Kane, discretion is the better part of valor. And they decide that the title match is more important than getting his hands on, a 70-year-old Eric Bischoff. And they do take the bust of Eric Bischoff and they throw it into the crowd. I don't know who caught it, but I hope nobody caught it on the head, and if so, I hope it was actually styrofoam and was not actually some sort of replica plaster or anything that could cause an injury.
But yeah, so Alex Kane, he gets to be in the triple threat match at the end, because that was a really damn good match. Yeah,
that was good. By the way, we didn't say Happy President's Day, so Happy President's Day, everybody. And to our friends in Canada and Greenland, I don't speak for Marie. She can speak for herself. But while we send you our greetings, we'd welcome you into the United States if you wanted to be part of the United States, and Denmark has a say. But otherwise, our president doesn't need to be your president. And I guess what's coming next is New York and Washington, D.C. gets to talk about the Hudson River. New Jersey not invited.
Well, I could definitely say that I would like Canada to be part of us and be part of 51st State, because I have some friends in Canada that I just think would be easier for us to like hang out and like make content and collab. So that's why I would want it. So we could it'd just be easy.
Well, wrestling note on that, it would make it a lot easier for Canadian wrestlers to work in the U.S. It's pretty hard to get a work visa here.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've heard that from Canadian independent wrestlers. On my Jeremy Prophet told me, Keegan Dmitrievic told me.
Which, by the way, your podcast also interviews wrestlers. So if anybody wants some new content on interviewing wrestlers, you check out Dos Evils podcast.
Yeah, we have Vinny Pacifico now, and allegedly both PJ Black and Mr. Thomas will be there. So there'll be 3 hosts. I don't know how I'm going to manage that, but next week we have the aforementioned Alex Kane, and then 2 weeks after that, or a week after that, Shazza McKenzie is booked. So we're cooking with gas.
You just got to be the referee, man. You just got to be like, listen, you got to tag in order to say something. I don't know.
Sometimes the shows are better when I don't say anything.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just giving you tips. Like, you're gonna be like the third man there, so just be, the referee. You call it down the middle.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely will. But it's fun when the wrestlers talk to each other about inside stuff, and then when they get sidetracked on like a story in a restaurant, or where they some guys wanted to fight with them or whatever, and then all of a sudden like Jacob Fatu like came over and everyone like ran away, and stuff like that.
Those are pretty cool. Speaking of MLW, we get our first match, which is again the Luchador match with Esfinge, so Esfinge and Templaro versus Dorada and Mystico in a tag match. And this was a pretty fun tag match. It's a standard luchador match. I think for me, it ran on a little too long, just a tiny bit, a little too long. But we had a powerbomb on Templaro and a knee. I'm reading my notes here. So if anyone's wondering, like, why am I fumbling over my words? It's because I'm reading my notes to try to remember. There's a powerbomb on Templaro to take him out of the ring. And then we get some knees on Mystico. And we have Esfinge and Templaro. Oh, no, wait. I got it. Templaro is the one that wins this match. He's the winner for his team. He knees Mystico. And then we end up getting this like little weird exchange. Not really weird. It's not really weird. But Templaro is next in line to challenge for Mystico's championship title.
Yeah, this was really interesting. I'm just going to use the English versions of their names because I mean I
Okay.
love luchador names, but like it's hard for me to say them just like it is for you. So Sphinx and I guess Templar River or the Little Templar was one team. I don't think we've seen Templario before in MLW, so I think this was his debut, and they're making a pretty big deal of it. So he must be here for a year or some something of that nature. By the way, one of the announcers, it wasn't Joe Dombrowski, the other announcer announced that he'd been with the company a year. So that was interesting as well. And they're fighting Golden Mask, Lince Dorado, well, Moscada Dorado, and Mystico, who, everyone, when Mystico is on AEW television, it's like, oh my God, epic. I can't believe it. He's on MLW all the time. And Mystico had never taken a pin before. So in this tag match, he took the pinfall. So it was the first pinfall Mystico has taken on MLW television or in an MLW ring in, I don't know, like 2 years or something. And so that was the big deal. And so they wanted to have the match right then and there. But Cesar Durant, walked in and said, oh, no. I'm going to make money off of this match by selling tickets, even though people threw dollars into the ring.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you're going to have to wait. We're going to do it another time. And again, they kept telling me how big Sphinx was. And he is big for a luchador. But like, it's not like he's like, Mil Muertes or something where he's just like, towers over them and he's like cut and jacked and all that. But I'm giggling about nothing. But he's, he's sort of built like Marty the Morph Martinez. It's not like he's like a giant.
Yeah, and I'm very impressed with Esfinge as well. Just to throw it out there, I don't think in Spanish, so most of the time when I'm trying to pronounce Spanish names, it doesn't really come out right. But like if I'm just in casual conversation, it might come out right. Like that's just how like my brain works, even though like I'm half Spanish, I'm Puerto Rican. But I can't roll my R's, so don't get upset at me. But like, I just can't do that.
But these aren't normal Spanish words. I mean, I love them because it's all Garden of Doom stuff. We've got Mystic, we've got the Mystic, we've got the Golden Mask, we've got the Sphinx, we've got the Templar.
Yeah,
this is all like stuff from mythology and stuff from all over the world. I mean, I love luchadors in that. And by the way, I usually don't like the luchador match that much, but I really like this one. Maybe because it was the only one, and there was only one of them, so it did feel special. And these guys really work together, and I like Mystico taking the pin. And none of these luchadors are particularly small, and none of them are sort of like that short, squat, like dock worker build where they're like 5'6" all the way around, but they, like Super Dandy was, they all, they're like barrel chested, but like 5'6", and all these guys look like they're athletes. So I liked. I actually really enjoyed this match.
Yeah. And of course, Templar versus Mystico is definitely going to be on April 5th, Battle Riot 7.
Yeah.
Which, if you guys have not gotten your tickets yet, please make sure you guys get your tickets.
In Las Vegas,
it's right? No, in LA.
LA. Oh my God, big time! Wow.
Yeah. This one's in LA. Yep. After that, we get Dummy XO, her interview. And even before she says a word, she ends up getting attacked by Tara Zap. I hope I have that name right.
I think it was Tara Zen. Have you ever heard of this performer before?
No, I have not.
Me neither. I liked it. She sort of seemed like a horror movie character, coming out there. A little too similar to Janai Kai, for my taste as the next opponent for Delmi Exo. But I liked it. She's sort of like a wiry version of what like Rosemary was 10 years ago. Or I guess what they were trying to do with Wendy Chu and when she was Tian Sha, when she was like the old witch. It was cool. Yeah, she jumped on her like a spider, man. And she was like a little Wolverine. And
that's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't know what to think about it. I was like, whoa, where did you come from? It made you feel like that.
Yeah. So it's like the Great Muta had a feral daughter or something.
Probably, yeah. And then right after that, we go right into a one-on-one match of Kevin Knight. Here's Kevin Knight, he appeared, versus Kenta. And by the way, this match was amazing. Both of these guys are New Japan, even though it was revealed, like I think maybe like a couple weeks ago, that Kenta has signed a contract with Pro Wrestling Noah, so he's back home in his home promotion, which is a good thing. But this match from start to finish, Kevin Knight versus Kenta, was really good. They had that story inside the ring, started up with a collar and a tie up, some arm drags, Kenta being still part of Bullet Club, but I don't know where in Bullet Club, because Bullet Club is complicated, and I'll have a video on that. It's going to be very, very complicated, but you never want to have a Bullet Club member on the outside of the ring because that is their environment. That's wrestling 101. Don't let them get on the outside of the ring. There was a power slam on Kevin from Kenta, which was amazing. The flying clothesline. Kevin Knight is a star. He is truly, truly a star. Every time that he jumps, he does have the hops. I do get a little scared because I don't want him to like overshot and like get hurt because this guy is mad tall. But other than that, the GTS puts Kevin Knight away and Kenta becomes the winner. And then after that, he's like calling his shot for the MLW Championship title. I think it's about time that he ends up getting a title. What do you think?
Yeah, very, very interesting that Kenta signed with Noah. So it's possible he'll work with NXT and WWE again in some regard. I wonder how that impacts his ability to work with MLW. It would be interesting to see if he can still do all of those things. Kevin Knight, let's talk about him. He is really talented, and they're doing. It's weird. MLW is doing things the right way, even though I don't think they have many people on a long-term contract. So even though he's highly touted, he's still taking the L's to the Dijaks and the Kentas of the world. Now, Kenta, there was definitely a big show of respect at the end in his facials, and when he was sort of backing away to the corner, on his butt, sort of, reverse crawling after he got the win. So you could tell he was like, wow, that guy's really good. And he is really good. I hope he sticks around. I mean, I know that people who sign with Japanese promotions, spend half their time in the U.S., so I hope he sticks around. And if he's not with MLW, there's probably only two places for him to be, but he'd fit in very well in the Performance Center in the NXT environment. He would be an instant boost to TNA, who could use some more of young homegrown, well, not homegrown, but seeming, hard there. But anyway, that's not the question you asked me. Kenta with a title in MLW, I mean, I guess it depends on his contract status and whether he's allowed to or not, whether that's going to work out logistically. But yeah, why not? Having a belt on Kenta is damn solid respect, and the chances of it, just, if I'm getting a title shot, well, by the end of the show, we'll reveal that it increased to close to 100% whether or not he called the shot.
That is true. We also have to keep in mind that Mr. Thomas won the briefcase. No, he didn't. He was almost winning the briefcase. See, I want my fantasy booking to go so that way Mr. Thomas could win a briefcase and call his shot. Mm-hmm. But was it Mads Kruger is the one that has the briefcase to call his shot. So there's a lot of people calling the shots for the MLW Championship title. So It's going to be like super chaotic. But I really do want Kenta to have a good ride with a championship title where people can give him that respect, because it is kind of well, in my opinion, that New Japan didn't give him the IWGP championship title while he was there. And this guy has sacrificed a lot. Also, I am very happy that both Noah and Marufuji liked my tweet about Kenta signing with the company, because I was like, hey, does this mean we're going to get Kenta versus CM Punk? Because Kenta still needs those royalties, man.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, but Donovan Dijak uses the same move as well, so he can at least pretend that he's fighting CM Punk. Didn't they already fight and Dijak? Didn't Dijak get an upset win over Kenta just a couple months ago?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he got a win over Kenta.
Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, yeah, I mean, again, it's all about contract, but I think the thing with Kenta is that he's 5'5".
You're bringing his height into this.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be the world's heavyweight champion, it helps if you're a heavyweight.
I just found it funny. You just like it just came out of nowhere. Well, he's 5'5", so
Well,
that's
I
why
mean,
I'm giggling.
for a U.S. title, for someone to, I mean, we've had Rey Mysterio Jr., we've had Daniel Bryan. I mean, but you can count them on one hand. I mean, it's sort of 5'9" is sort of like the minimum, and then you're talking about like Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medals, two of them. So, I mean, this is the land of the giants at show business, and
It
at the
is.
business, you need a show, and if you're a little guy, you need to have a big personality, and Kenta doesn't have that. He's all business. It's he wrestles like he's a 6'2", 220-pound guy, but he doesn't present that way. So, unfortunately, in the U.S., in most promotions, well, in most major promotions, I mean, he could have titles through all of the indies and the mid majors, but on the big screen, they want a big guy. I mean, that's what they want. So that's what's been holding him back. And I know he doesn't think so, but it is when you look like when CM Punk looks like a giant next to you, then that's just it's just reality. You can't as they used to say, you can't teach that. And Big Bill has a better chance than Kenta of becoming a world heavyweight champion in the United States because he's 7 feet tall and looks like Hercules.
And you can't teach that.
And you can't teach that.
So right after the wonderful Kevin Knight versus Kenta match, we have this segment in Eric Bischoff's office that included Matt Riddle, Tom Lawler. It was very smoky. Pizza. Matt Riddle being like, yo, you want some red velvet on your pizza, man? Because it's going to taste mad good. And I was like, what is happening? I was entertained, by the way. I was entertained by the whole entire segment. I'm not sure if I would try red velvet on pizza, but like if it was given to me, maybe I'll try it. But yeah, what did you think about this segment?
Okay. I mean, here's the problem. Both of these guys, Tom Lawler and Matt Riddle, had big matches on the card that night. One a championship match, the other one a grudge match against Dijak. So they're getting stoned and eating pizza with cupcakes on them in Bischoff's office in the middle of it. That seemed like an ill-placed comedy scene for me. I don't know where else to have put it, but maybe that should have been like a scene from earlier in the week. And maybe like Matt Riddle should have been like, maybe they should have elaborated more on that, how that Matt Riddle is the one who brought Alex Kane and why, just because he's a champion, he had the power to do so. And that was like earlier this week. Then that would have made sense if it was, this. So while it was entertaining and they did the cash makes controversy and all of that, it was a little silly. And also Eric Bischoff acting like his office, which is his office for one day at the Center Stage Theater is a big deal. I mean, it was very Mr. McMahon. That whatever arena was in his office was sacrosanct. It's like an embassy. Wherever he goes, it's McMahonlandia. So, I mean, the closest thing to Vince McMahon is Eric Bischoff, and then after him, I mean, it's Dario Cueto, Cesar Duran. I mean, there's no other authority figures that come close to any of those guys. They're the top three in history as far as I'm concerned. So.
Yeah, and then we actually do see Caesar come in and steal that MLW confidential papers, which I was like, whoa, okay, what are we doing here now?
Right, with the big word confidential on it. So what is it that he got that's confidential? Is it the terms of Eric Bischoff's contract? Is it something else? I don't know, but Cesar got it. He was shocked that the camera was there. Then he shushed them. He's just so good. He's just shout out to Luis Fernandez. He's just great.
He is. And then right after that, we get our first ever honey trap match. Man, this is with BRG versus Paul London. I know that wrestling could be silly, wrestling could be fun. This was fun, just to watch. Obviously BRG plays a very good role of being the bad guy, but then also understanding that he has to take the fall for certain things. And you had did I write it down here that at the end I believe Paul Hauser comes out and everyone else comes out and like, finally pushes BRG into this the honey trap, which is like honey with a lot of water. He goes in it, and then here comes Paul London and puts feathers on BRG, making him look like Big Bird. Your thoughts on the match? And by the way, Paul London won for everyone listening.
Right. Yeah. Paul London in the Elvis suit is a little bit weird. But yeah, I mean, so BRG definitely plays the heel role. He knows he's supposed to get his comeuppance. He's the chicken shit heel, but he's, wasn't taking Paul London seriously. By the way, I think our last show, I replaced Paul London in my head with Matthew Justice, which obviously is wrong. And so the story in the back was that the Rogue Horsemen were going to try to interfere, but the Boumaier Fight Club neutralized them, and so they blocked the entrance ramp. And so BRG then backed away to go out toward like the side exit. But Paul Walter Hauser, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I'm sorry. I know he has an Emmy or a Golden Globe or both. But he had a chair. So, he was blocking that exit. So BRG turned around. There was Paul London. He threw a haymaker. Paul London ducked and turned around and pushed BRG, and he tripped over like, the inflatable tub or whatever and into the honey. Now, I was in the chat when this happened.
Oh, man.
People were complaining that it was too watery and it wasn't viscous. Listen, if someone falls into honey, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to die. It's going to go down their throat, go in their nostrils, cause damage. So, I mean, like a honey bath, is not supposed to be high impact. So, anyway, so the people complaining about that, it's a little silly. Like, but yeah. So then it was an updated tar and feather match, without
pretty much.
all the historic, horribleness that goes with the tar and feather concept. So, yeah, he looked like Big Bird. Funny. I mean, it's a silly match, but people say, well, that's for the indies. Guess what? The MLW is a super indie. It's a mid-major. That's okay for the indies. They're supposed to be the shtick match. If there could be the Jackass cartoon match at WrestleMania where Sami Zayn got beat up by a cartoon and all that, then we can make then this is allowed to.
Yeah, especially having a honey trap match, because I was just like, oh, this is interesting. And then in my head, I'm like, man, that honey solution that they did, I was like, the first thing that I thought of was,
what do you think that really was? Do you think it was just like corn syrup and water, or?
No, I honestly, I do think that they might have gotten maybe like 2 bottles of honey and then like put water in it. Or maybe some like syrup too, like honey and syrup mixed together, and then like really put water to make it really, really dilute. That's the only thing I could think of.
We're gonna have to do some journalism and follow up on our inside contacts there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
We're totally, not wrestling insiders, but but not totally outsiders either.
Yeah,
you're an insider. Much. You're actually an insider.
Yeah. I just don't flex it because it doesn't make any sense for me to flex it. I just love doing what I do, but I know stuff.
For you. She's an insider.
Thank you. But when I did first see this advertised as a honey trap match and then actually seeing the match, it reminded me of AEW and Chris Jericho doing the mimosa match with Orange Cassidy. That I was just like, oh God.
Yeah, exactly. But that started over a jacket. It ended up in the mimosa. That was sort of the start of when AEW sort of like was going too far, when they were trying to push Orange Cassidy, and they still haven't stopped trying to push Orange Cassidy as a solo star. I mean, he was like perfect as the third guy in Best Friends, which was a lame team, but like him like popping out of closets and car trunks and being in bathroom stalls when they were kicked in as sort of a comedic figure, and then they would shock the opponent, and that would lead to wins. Like that worked. It worked. It worked great for the first year or however long until they decided, well, Tony, his love affair, and some of them never end. So there we go. Talking about AEW again, or me talking about AEW.
No, it's all good. I'm just letting people know, like, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw this match advertised. I was like, oh, it's similar to that. But other than that, we get Tom Lawler versus Dijak. Man, Dijak is so good, man. Like I like watching him wrestle and whatnot, and then being in the ring with Tom Lawler. It was all about like who could one up who and who could survive. because this was a hard-hitting battle from start to finish. I did like the idea of that Dijak did the moonsault in the corner, but here comes Lawler putting him in a triangle choke as like he comes down. You don't really get to see that a lot in wrestling and that kind of counter. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I popped for that one. But then we had, Dijak finally doing the feast your eyes finisher for him to win this hard hitting, good, heavy match. Your thoughts?
I'm glad Dijak won. Dijak had to win. He is their big heavy guy. He's their big heel, despite Contra having the case. He's probably their highest paid talent right now. Maybe Riddle is, I don't know. But Tom Lawler, I know that he could real life kick most people's butts. I know that he has an MMA background. I know he's a great technical wrestler, but the overalls I think look stupid, very hicky, and like that's not his gimmick. His gimmick isn't like he's like Uncle Junior or cousin, one of the hillbilly Jim's, kin. And the other thing, he moves like the way he walks now. It's very Matt Hardy, almost Mick Foley-ish. I'm starting to worry about his mobility.
Interesting.
To watch him, it hurts me to watch him move. He walks like an old man.
Interesting. I haven't been paying attention to that. So maybe next time we're gonna have to be like, oh wow, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's time for him to retreat more into a coaching role, or maybe that's just his gait, and that's his normal gait. Maybe I need to look back at more. But I remember Team Filthy with the I think Kevin Koo was in it, and then there was the guy who pretended he was a karate guy, the fat Italian dude. And I saw him also in New Japan Strong with the guy from Blunt Force Trauma now, and I think Royce Isaacs was in that spot, and maybe Fred Rosser was there too.
Yep.
I don't remember him moving like this. It's not like I'm new to Filthy Tom Lawler. I'm not a student of his either, but I don't remember him with this kind of like, I don't know, like almost like bow-legged, bow-kneed kind of gait.
Okay. Yeah. I guess the next MLW show I'm gonna have to really look at it because I'm not really paying attention to that. Yeah, and even I'm thinking back to like when he was in New Japan and he was with the West Coast Wrecking Crew with Royce Isaacs, and then his big feud with Fred Rosser, which was fantastic. I did actually tell him that like, yo, I really did enjoy that feud because that feud was great. But yeah, now I'm gonna have to like really be like, yo, is he okay?
Yeah, I'm wondering. Anyway, it's not like the match didn't deliver. It's just I was distracted by those two things. One, obviously, can't help. The other, he could have. I mean, his I don't know, just the overalls to me just distracted me the whole thing. I'm like, it's not like he's Mark Briscoe, and then like reverting to country bumpkin, makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, the important thing is Dijak won because he needed to win, and certainly Filthy Tom Lawler does need to win. He's more of a background player at this point, due to age, longevity, and possibly physical limitations.
Yeah, I mean, this guy has been through it all from like MMA to wrestling, all those nagging injuries add up on wrestlers and fighters in general. So eventually, sometimes you have to take a back seat and like sort of like relax and whatnot. But you can definitely see how much fun he's definitely having with what he's doing with MLW, which is a damn good thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but it was a good match. It was placed in the right part of the card, I thought, as well.
Yeah, and then right after that, we get a women's match, which had Mila Moore versus Janai Kai. I remember watching Mila Moore some years ago when she first like debuted. I forgot where she debuted, but I knew that like she was really good. But now that she came back after like training a little bit more against Janai Kai, and this was just a very short match. I wish we could have saw more of Mila. But I always say this to like everybody that listens to my podcast is that risk control is important, ladies and gentlemen. Wrist control allows the wrestler to take over the match, and the opponent has to play towards the speed of the wrestler. And I said this many times about Okada and why, like, you know, his wrist control is important. The reason why I bring it up here is because Janai had wrist control against Mila, which helped Janai Kai in the end, even though she's a super kick demon, had Janai win the match. But yes, wrist control is definitely important, ladies and gentlemen.
Mila Moore from Long Island. They said it plenty of times. So there's probably plenty of chances for you to see her in the future. Pretty girl. Very attractive. Looked like a, you know, sort of like a Sol Ruka type of build. You know, very athletic. Probably was a, you know, volleyball player or you know, swimmer or something. She was good, but the story wasn't her. The story was Janai Kai. I mean, and it was basically a squash match, and it reestablished Janai Kai as a player after she just lost her title. So, you know, it was what it was supposed to be. Mila Moore didn't do anything to embarrass herself or Janai, and I agree with everything you said. But you know, it was a good, quick match. It's a little interesting that they're keeping Janai Kai up there while bringing in sort of what is a similar type of character wrestler. And there, by the way, at some point, I don't remember when it was, but they announced that isn't the Joshi wrestler coming in who's pretty highly thought of, regarded?
Yeah. Yeah, her name escapes me. But yeah, she's she's been there more than once. I even like have like her photo on my phone when I was doing media press before getting bumped up.
I only recognize the name because I think she was like top 5 in one of the WON awards. So Mia Motomoto, something like that. Sorry, I don't know.
We're butchering.
I don't follow Joshi wrestling. I don't follow WON, but I mean, you can't escape it all. But so I was able to recognize the name from one day to the next.
Well, she's been there before. I want to say reoccurring. We also have Shoko Nakajima also coming to Battle Riot for MLW. She's also another Joshi wrestler as well. But the other one, yeah, everybody should know her.
Yeah, and well, I mean, when they give you a promo like that, it seems like they're probably going to be there for an arc, which usually means at least 3 2-hour shows.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes I wish that even though I love MLW, I do wish that the women could get more time and have their stories like a little more fleshed out, rather than just having like quick matches and stuff like that. But I do understand that time is everything when it comes to like matches set up and like from start to finish and stuff like that. But I do think that maybe MLW should also look into the route of having the wrestlers do stuff on social media in order to like compensate.
Yeah, it would be nice. I don't know what their contracts are like. I don't know what their schedule is like. I don't know, how much hustling and grinding the wrestlers have to do to, do other things, and whether they're full-time wrestlers or they have other jobs or a little bit of both. I just don't know. But yeah, it would be cool. But the market has to be. Now I've been looking, and most of the MLW shows are up to about 135 to 150,000 views, which is good. It's better than it has been in, like a year and a half ago. But it's not great. I mean, so I have a feeling if those views got up to like 300,000, 350,000, I don't mean right away. I mean, after, 3 weeks of being up there or 2 months of being up there, if there were another 100, 150,000 views, those shows would probably be 3 hours, and then there'd be more time for women.
That is true too. That is. I do want to put it out there too that there is a subreddit for MLW, which is pretty tamed and relaxed. It's not as toxic as the NJPW subreddit or even the AEW ones or the WWE ones. So if anybody out there that is a fan of MLW, go join that subreddit. I'm in there too. I just don't really post as much, but that's just me being honest with it. But if anybody wants to join the MLW subreddit, go over to Reddit and do so.
Yeah, I don't know what subreddit is, but sounds like a great idea. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, you heard of Reddit, right?
I know what it is conceptually.
Okay.
I don't. I once opened a subreddit account, but incomplete, and I only finished it halfway or whatever. And they started sending me like 2 emails every day. I'm just like, yeah, I don't want this shit in my life.
Okay. Lucky you, man. Lucky you. Anyway, after the women's match, we had promo time. Because Mads Kruger and Contra was in the ring. And I'm guessing, why don't you take it from here? What was Mads Kruger talking about?
Well, first so Mads comes out with Janaikai, and I'm pretty sure that was Kevin Koo, who I haven't seen him with Contra.
No, it's not. That's not Kevin Koo.
Who was that?
Okay, so I always have a hard time pronouncing his name, but he's my homie. We know him as Tristan, and I'm so sorry that I have to say it that way, but it's Ericon Quo. Like, he knows I love him. But yeah, he's my homie, but he's not Kevin Koo.
Well, when did he join? My bigger point is obvious. I don't know his name, but like, when was he in Contra? The last time I saw Contra, it was Mads, Janaikai, Suzuki, and another older guy with like sort of like, strawberry blonde, hair, almost like a Three Stooges Mo cut kind of thing. And I didn't, and then they have, the Sentai, Death Squad guys running around. When was this guy, or is this guy the one who was in the match last time who was wearing like sort of like strange striped paint on him, like he was a caveman or something?
No, definitely not. It's
different guy.
not.
So I thought it was a different guy. So I don't know who is this person. Someone who's been featured in Contra regularly, because I've missed him entirely.
So the one that you keep calling Kevin Koo, it's Iriko Kwan, and I know I fucked it up, but again, he's my homie. He joined August 3rd, 2019, all the way to December 14th, 2021, and then came back as of March 29th, 2024 to present. So he's a member.
Okay, I guess in the background somewhere, maybe he's been wearing that Sentai Death Squad. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. I go back to Contra being, Davari, Fatu, Kruger, it's being a little bit of a scarier crowd. I remember Simon Gotch being part of that. By the way, I ordered their shirt. It still hasn't come. It's been like 5 years.
Oh, damn.
Chances are I didn't complete the transaction properly, or it's me, not them. Anyway, well, what did Mads Kruger saying? The funny thing is, nobody knew what Mads Kruger was saying. The crowd was chanting, "We can't hear you," because he's talking with the mask on and basically saying, "I have the title, shout whatever I want. I will claim a Contra rule. It's been 5 years since I've held gold." So basically, Lord Humongous from the Mad Max movies, Road Warriors, is reminding you he's got the case and he can cash in his title whenever he wants, including possibly tonight, either during or after the triple threat. Now, I have a question for you, though, and well, I'm going to save it, but it's going to remind me, if I don't ask, that it has to do with the case and Battle Riot.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're gonna get to the main event, and then after that, I guess you ask me the question all you want. The main event was Alex Kane versus Kojima versus Matt Riddle. This was a triple threat for the MLW World Championship title, and it was, again, fantastic. All three of these guys can definitely work together in the ring. Kojima is great. Matt Riddle is awesome. Alex Kane just goes in there and like suplexes people. And I love the fact that we could be like, this is like one suplex, two suplex. He's a suplex assassin. Like, I just love that for Alex Kane. But towards the end, it was getting towards like more heavy hitting power hits and stuff like that. To the point where Matt Riddle retains his championship title. And then right after that, Eric Bischoff does this thing where he makes a match, and I think this is definitely the first time ever, so I'm gonna like explain what this is. So if you have not seen Battle Riot, guys, Battle Riot has 40 competitors in there. It's a big battle royale of 40 people. Matt Riddle is going to be in there. However, Matt Riddle is going to defend his championship title against 39 other men. I don't know how this is going to go. It's really, really chaotic. And it's the first time ever. So your thoughts?
Yeah, so this was Eric Bischoff getting his revenge on Matt Riddle for bringing back Alex Kane and screwing up his office and thinking that as champion he's top dog around there when Eric Bischoff is top dog around there. So, and I hope that whatever Cesar Durant, the confidential, plays into this as well. Maybe there's a secret 41st contend person he can put in there, or or he can have some sort of power where he can set up his own unique opportunity. My question for you, by the way, is: do you think that Max Kruger will obviously be one of the 40 people in Battle Riot, so he shouldn't have to use the case to get in that? So, do you think he wastes the case on entering himself into Battle Riot, or do you think he still has a shot after Battle Riot of cashing in, which is what you should do, but wrestling doesn't always follow logic?
That's true. Wrestling doesn't always follow logic. I would, if I was booking this and talking with everybody, I would definitely say that Mads Kruger will not be in the Battle Riot because he has the briefcase. We could probably tease maybe after the winner for him to maybe cash in, but I would want to see a little bit more of him carrying the briefcase around, teasing it. But I think that if he did enter the Battle Riot, it will be a waste in a sense.
Or he could just say, "I've got two shots. I have the Battle Riot shot, and I've got the case." So what's the? I mean, as a practical matter, does MLW have 40 male wrestlers, on or near the roster?
They have a good chunk, and then they just ask other people to come in. Like the last time they had the Brock lookalike that got released from what was it? Yeah, they had him come in as well during the Battle Riots here in New York City. So they have a good amount of people to put into the Battle Riot, and then they just ask other wrestlers to come in. But yeah,
I remember they had dumped the Duke the Dumpster Drozy in there.
Yeah,
he was in it. I mean, they showed them on TV again today, but I remember those things very well. So I know that they bring in legends and and other people from the indies. And yeah, I mean, this might be a place where you'd see an Elijah or a No Way Jose or, JTG may pop up, or, insert whatever name of the, recent releases from either company. They can come in for a one shot and it doesn't violate any contract they're with, or, Cardona could come in if he, I mean, so that's the fun of it. Now, all 40 people don't come in at once, do they? Is it? Or is it
no, it's very
like
similar to the it's very similar to the Royal Rumble, where obviously you start off with two guys, and then every maybe 1 to 2 minutes somebody else comes out. It's very similar to the Royal Rumble.
Do you think that Eric Bischoff makes it so that Matt Riddle is the first or second entry, which is in essence the same thing?
Eric Bischoff, does very devious things, so why not?
And it would make sense if he put Matt Riddle as number 1 and Alex Kane as number 2, because those are the two guys you have to get revenge on.
Yeah. Oh man, we're giving him ideas, but
yeah, you thought Kane was best for business, Riddle? Well, guess what? He's your first contender in Battle Riot. This match may not go 40 people. It may not get past number 2.
Right? they're all gonna eliminate everybody else. They're gonna be the last 2 at the end.
They might, Kane suplexes him and pins him before number 3 gets in there. I think Battle Riot, you have to outlast all 40. I don't think a pin or submission, gets it done.
No, but also in Battle Riot is just throwing the guy over the top rope. You actually described the NJPW Rambo. Right. Their own little battle royale where you can actually pin your opponent to get them eliminated, which New Japan, I like it to an extent.
That's one thing I like about, and I don't know why no company here has done it. I guess because it probably is too dangerous with that many people running around in the ring, but I don't know.
That could be it. But I also think it's also because of the fans' perspective, because fans just don't understand something else, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, that's so stupid." When it's like, It's meant to be different. Don't you want different? At least a little bit different, you know?
Right.
But
Exactly. Like TNA botched the King of the Mountain in their execution, but they could have tweaked it, and it could have been like lots of people have come up with ideas to make King of the Mountain work. It just the way they did it didn't work. But Elimination Chamber was new not too long ago. The Iron Man in NXT was only 2 years, and that worked. So, yeah, I think this would be a lot of fun. I mean, someone like Shayna. I've never understood why Shayna Baszler or someone like that didn't put a submission on someone and then just drop them over the top rope. It never seems to work. But if you had a submission specialist, do submissions in a battle royal, and the ref called them out for safety. I mean, you could have interesting spots there with the refs are distracted, pulling someone out of a ring, and so heels are cheating at that time, or they're the cronies are coming in from the outside and throwing people out of the ring. And so I don't know. You'd have to be careful with the booking. So you'd have to make sure that you had all people who knew what they were doing or what their roles were, or, at least not to be in the way, at the 12-minute spot or the 27-minute spot or whatever it is. But I'd like it. I think it would be different, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. So NWA, if you're listening, I guess the ball's in your court.
Which, by the way, I do like that idea too, of like having specific little spots that are meant to not only develop more character, but also develop story too, and how to like weave that in. And you only have certain wrestlers that come out to do the spot, and then referees are distracted. Like, it creates a lot more life in a match where it's like, oh my god, all these people are beating each other up for one spot to like either get a title shot or go to WrestleMania or whatever the stipulation is. But then you also have another little section of like storytelling too that is not part of like the main road to like whatever the stipulation of the Royal Rumble type match is. And that makes sense for the audience out there.
And you can create a new like Kane-like record where these eliminated 14 people. You could have someone, she submitted 7 people. Like, let's just say Marina Shafir instead of Shayna Baszler. For example, that like she put 7 people to sleep in something like this. So she looks strong even though she's not going to win, or maybe she looks strong winning, and she submits 11 women in a 30-person battle royal, and she submits 11 women in it. While everyone else is throwing people out over the rope, she's just minding her own business in the middle of the ring, just putting people to sleep. Or someone like Megan Bain, is power bombing people and pinning them, and and nobody can stop her. She's just staying in the middle of the ring, and nobody can get her out because she's just clobbering people.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how both me and Dos Evo can help build your character in wrestling. Because, yeah, those are really good points. Those are really good stuff to focus on and to build upon. And that's how you create stars in the process, because you've got to make sure that the wrestler is believable in whatever character that they want to portray. It's not just about wrestling and getting your shit in and getting the 5 stars from Uncle Dave, now 7 stars. It's more about how can you build up this character? How can people connect with that character? The stronger you are, the more people could be like, oh my God, I really do like such and such wrestler. This wrestler could definitely beat this wrestler, and there'll be a lot more connection and networking. And, oh my God, we are like the dream team of like talking about characters and building up people and stuff.
Agree.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have went through the whole entire MLW Super Fight 6. For any upcoming MLW events, head over to MLW.com and get your tickets. Oh, it's always a good time at MLW. I really enjoy working with MLW, talking to the fans, helping out whenever I can. And then also we talked a little bit about AEW, because that whole ring situation frustrated me, frustrated Dos Evo, and frustrated the rest of the good people that we talk to and interact with on a daily basis. And no, we're not grifters. You guys need to understand and know the definition of grifting, by the way. Please open up a dictionary. Thank you. But other than that, Dos Evo, please plug in your stuff, put yourself over.
Okay. Well, we already did a pretty good job of saying where you can find me on X, but again, it's at Dos Evil. You can find me guesting on a bunch of wrestling podcasts, including Maria Shadows. I'm often on Pro Wrestling Tees with Phil. I do the NXT PLE reviews on the Drew Yari experience. I'm typically on Wrestling Soup's SmackDown review show when we do it. And I also do something on Wrestling Soup called Body Slam Briefs, which is the intersection of law and wrestling, which happens a lot. But my shows are all on the Garden of Doom feed. Keep in mind, I'm in the middle of rebranding the Garden of Thought, so whatever it is when you get to it, it's the same show. But there's 3 shows there: Garden of the Doom / Thought, Garden Views, and God Presents the Book of Black, or GOT Presents the Book of Black, or Gospel of Thomas. So Garden of the Doom, my most recent episode was with my good friend C. the Superior, and we talked about the symbology and the mythology of the peacock throughout history in major religions and mythologies. Very interesting stuff there. So Garden of Doom, to describe best, it's probably like a little bit like Rogan without the toxic masculinity and overt broness and complete embrace of conspiracies, but we dance with that a little bit. And sort of like the History Channel, like Primetime and After Dark. Garden Views is more like a traditional magazine show, a lot of legal, business, science, geopolitics, interesting people doing interesting things. The last show and the next one coming out are both 2 different types of real estate businesses. I'm just trying to understand like who some of these people are who are real estate investors and how they make their living doing real estate. So we're trying to peel that away, the mystery of that away a little bit, so anybody can understand it and see if it's right for them. And God Presents the Book of Black, or GOT Presents the Gospel of Thomas, is where me and one of my 2 co-hosts, sometimes both, PJ Black and Mr. Thomas from MLW, both professional wrestlers for over 20 years. And we talk to people in and around wrestling, typically about non-wrestling topics, sometimes current events, sometimes something that they're very passionate about. Sometimes wrestling always plays some role in it. But this past episode, we talked to Max Smashmaster, who is Mr. Thomas's tag team partner in Chikara, and now runs Killer Kowalski's. He owns Killer Kowalski's old school New England Wrestling Academy, and runs a promotion in New England, which is a love letter to Chikara, called Rad Wrestling, where all the characters do play characters out of the 90s. So he's having Donovan Dijak come in playing the Russian menace, a Russian bad guy. So that's just an example of the show. But all 3 shows are on the same feed. They're all free. There's no Patreon. There's no super chats. There's no support layers. My Twitter account has no blue check mark. There's no way to monetize it. So if I'm a grifter, I'm the worst grifter of all time, because I monetize absolutely nothing. I don't even, whatever, Wrestling Soup hosts my shows, and whatever revenue comes through Spreaker automated ads for that, I tell them to keep it as rent. So, again, if I'm a grifter, I'm the worst grifter ever born.
All right. Well, obviously, I'm Marie Shadows. You guys can find this podcast episode on the Square Circle Podcast, on Spotify, all major podcasting platforms, on youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast, on my Substack wrestling newsletter, marieshadows.substack.com. And then you guys can also obviously shop the merch, get memberships. I'm almost there into the YouTube partner program. So that'd be great. We're almost completing that. But just so you guys know, I like to give either my tape study series as a way for keeping the channel alive. And that's the only thing that I'll ask for payment while we're talking about grifting here, because grifting is to be swindled out of something. And neither of us do that kind of thing. We give you great value, great ideas, and even great perspectives on a lot of different topics, because those people here presented a lot of different topics. So I hope you guys enjoyed the MLW review. We will be back with another one whenever, for next month, when MLW does it, because they do it every month. But we will be back. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to like all our stuff, share it, because word of mouth is important, and then also go support Dos Evil over on everything that he says. So,
and tell MLW to make us the official MLW podcast.
I'll talk with our buddies. I'll see what happens.
I mean your fans. Let's
fans.
Let's go grassroots.
Well, I mean, listen, I like talking about it either way. So I guess we are the unofficial MLW podcast.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to do it either way. So, I mean, I guess I'm, again, failing at grifting. I'm impeaching myself. But, I mean, I think it's fun for promotion to have, an official, sort of outsider podcast that's still independent, but is still, affiliated. And listen, if they want me to color my opinion, I can be bought very easily. I mean, like just because I don't grift doesn't mean that I'm not willing to grift. I mean, I'm subject. I can be corrupt, no problem.
Sorry.
I mean, this beard is very gray. I could use some high cost coloring, make it brown, make me look 10 years younger.
Yeah, then you're gonna be flexing all over when we do video and whatnot.
Maybe Matt Riddle can become my personal trainer. I mean, I could stand to lose like 10 or 20 or 50 pounds.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting. I never thought of like Matt Riddle as a personal trainer. He's gonna be like, dude.
The video sessions of him training me. I mean, they could actually do it with some of their having staff. They could do it with the Walter Hausenhausen fellow, but do it with me instead. It's my idea. I'm like giving away IP here left and right.
I think we're both doing that. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in and listening to our ending rant. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm so rusty with outros, but we'll see you on the next one.
Stay with my friends.